Rick, what kind of support, if any, have you received from your fellow legislators, both Democrat and Republican?
Well, Steve, let me just say, can I say something real quick up front? I want to make it perfectly clear to everybody that I support all legal immigration, and no matter what your race, religion, sex, or beliefs, just so long as you as immigrants integrate into our society, obey our U.S. Constitution, state Constitution, obey our laws. And that's really what this is about. Like I said, they're trying to make this a religious issue instead of looking to Sharia law. As for my fellow legislators, I've got multiple phone calls of support, text messages of support. Those who are not wanting to speak out publicly are not coming out to condemn me either. They're quietly supporting me in the background. So, again, there's CARE and the Muslim Brotherhood and the Obama administration and others are trying to silence my right to freedom of speech, my opinion, and my opportunity to educate the American people of what Sharia law is all about and why they're trying to destroy our Constitution. And that's what this is about.
Well, and so many of those who are criticizing you have not read the Quran, have not read the Hadith, have not read the Surah, have no idea what Islam is or what Muslims are told to do if they follow Islam in an adherent way. Now, there are plenty of Muslims, like there are Baptists and folks in the Presbyterian Church, who may go on Sunday and then, pretty much just go about their business the rest of the week, who don't try to live in the most explicit terms in the faith they claim to be a part of. But if you follow Islam as Islam commands, as the Quran, the Hadith, and the Sirah set it out, your point is simply that you cannot do that and also be in the U.S. military.
And that's exactly right. And we don't see in the U.S. military, it's almost like profiling. You look at the facts and you look at the evidence. We don't see evidence of any other religion, Christian, Jews, Buddha, Hindu, New Age, Christian Science. I don't care if you follow the Haley's Comet and you think there's a mothership. We don't see those people trying to kill our service members. We only see Muslims trying to do it. And it's the radical Sharia law-believing Muslims. But how do you tell the difference between the two? And you know this from the term called taqiyya. They're commanded to lie to the unbelievers, the infidels. So how do I know they're telling the truth? It's beyond me to determine who are the good ones and who are not.
Now, it's interesting that some of your fellow legislators recently were taken on a trip that hadn't received any media attention to Turkey to be propagandized with how Islam is so great. State Representative Deborah Maggart, one of your colleagues, has come back and been telling everybody that'll listen, oh, the Muslims are just like us. You can't tell the difference if you're in Turkey or if you're in Hendersonville. Well, that's kind of being bought off, isn't it?
I haven't talked to Deborah, but I have talked to some of the other ones that went. And the word I have from them is they are terrified and they're shocked because not so much Turkey, and I think probably Representative Maggart's right about Turkey, but when they've gone to other parts of Europe, France, Germany, the United Kingdom, they were shocked and they were terrified at what Sharia law has become in those countries. And that's where I think that trip was very beneficial for some of our state legislators and state senators, is that it opened up their eyes, and it's just not hearsay and people trying to spew hatred over here. It's a fact, and it's true.
Well, you can even go to Dearborn, Michigan, and see where Islamist Sharia, you have to live our way if you're going to be in our community. Unfortunately, our community is here in the United States.
That's right. I know a police officer who used to work on the precinct next to Dearborn, and they weren't allowed to go into the Dearborn precinct and do anything. And if you tried to extradite somebody or accuse somebody and bring them to court, you were met with heavy resistance from that police force there in Dearborn.
Well, and you've got Turkey, which is pointed to as a, quote, moderate Muslim nation, and yet it is illegal to build a new Christian church in Turkey. How is that peaceful and tolerant? How is that just like Hendersonville?
Well, it's not. And the other thing, too, you look at Turkey and look at the extreme places like Saudi Arabia, Iran. It is against
Libya and Egypt, where they say they are going to embrace Sharia, and you have women in those countries who are concerned because that means all the second-class citizen status that is applied to women, whether it's wearing burqas, whether it's a woman can be raped, and unless she can find 4 male witnesses, she's going to be the one that's going to be punished for having sex outside of marriage.
Yeah, well, that just happened in 2009 in Saudi Arabia. A young lady was given a ride in a car, and the Muslim man took her to his house where she was gang raped by him and 4 others, and she was taken to court, couldn't prove it, like you said, with 4 male witnesses, and was convicted of adultery, sentenced to 6 months in jail, and given 120 lashes. That's justice there in the Sharia law world of Saudi Arabia.
Which is, and again, what they have declared they're going to embrace in Libya after we help change their, this quote democracy spring, Arab Spring in the Middle East. They are embracing Sharia law in Egypt, in Libya. That's what we're going to see down the path in Afghanistan, in Iraq. There's not a single Christian church in Afghanistan.
No, the Global Muslim Brotherhood, and this came out, they started working on this vigorously back in 1982, admitted it in 1991 that their goal is global Islamic Sharia law around the world, with particularly targeting Europe and America. And that's what we see today.
When you look at the backlash that you've received, you see it, is it, I mean, I know there was an initial backlash, you were actually out of the country. Is it declining, or are they still trying to ratchet up? I know they were trying to declare that you should be, quote, impeached. What criminal act have you conducted?
Freedom of speech. In Sharia, you are not allowed to speak out or speak evil of Islam. And I really think that this is part of the problem with our news media. They're scared to death of the political correctness, of the threats. It's just like the Hutton Hotel, Steve. This past week, or 2 weeks ago, they vowed to Sharia law and Sharia compliant by canceling the Freedom Conference. The people out there are threatened physically with terrorist acts. They're threatened with political correctness in the media. And I tell you, I'll be honest with you, it's been a brutal, brutal week. I mean, emotionally, it's draining because it's a constant attack against your character, against your opportunity to speak out, against my First Amendment. And but I'm not going to back down. That's the one thing in the emails people have asked me. Please do not cave in or back down. And I won't. And I'm going to continue to shout it from the mountaintops, whether I'm a state representative or whether I'm a peon down in Murfreesboro. It doesn't make a difference.
Have you received threats, personal threats against you and your family?
In all honesty, no. But I have received indirect, you could take them as indirect threats. Most of it has just been pure vulgarity. Again, the left, when the left doesn't have the facts in front of them and they can't prove anything or they don't want to talk about the truth, and they just start calling you names. And I have been called some whoppers here lately. So that's probably been the biggest thing. But the emails right now are coming in 25 to 30 to 1 in favor of what I'm doing.
Well, and unfortunately, the Daily News Journal down in Murfreesboro, which is part of the Tennessean conglomerate, not exactly telling both sides of the story in this. And they may not have been publishing the kind of vile language against you, but boy, their comment section sure contains it.
Well, yeah, and that's headed by Sam Stocker down here at the DNJ. And he's been, even with the mosque down here, he's been nothing but a mouthpiece for the Muslim Brotherhood and CAIR, CAIR. And he will continue to be. He refuses to be a true journalist who will seek out the truth and print both sides of the story. And that's probably the most frustrating thing that I see, not just with the DNJ, but it's throughout the liberal media across the country.
Well, Bob Smetana, who writes for the Tennessean as their supposed religion expert, is only a one-sided propagandist for Islam.
That's exactly right. And one day, their wives, their children could be subjected to Sharia law, and then it's going to be too late. Then their eyes will be open.
Well, they ought to move over and live in Saudi Arabia, let their wives and daughters be subjected to it for a while since they think it's such great stuff. Go find out for themselves how peaceful and tolerant it is. Go find out for themselves. Yeah. Then tell us what you think. Rick Womick, thanks for telling us what you think. Thanks for standing up for what's right. And you stand up, brother. We're with you.